All new in our 9 o'clock hour right now. Tensions are high, no question about that, in D.C. and across the country ahead of Inauguration Day. It's set for Wednesday morning. So politics might be a topic of conversation among your coworkers, your friends, your family, whether you like it or not, whether you want to talk about it or not. And that can turn pretty heated pretty quickly.
We have Sharon Schweitzer. She is an etiquette expert and the founder of the consulting company Access to Culture, joining us live with some tips for discussing politics. Good morning, Sharon. How are you?
Good morning, Megan. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So obviously, we'd like to say that we can just agree to disagree, but some of those conversations can get tense, emotional, and go off the rails quick.
That's right. And it can happen quick before you even know it. So one of the best things you can do is be respectful in these conversations and know your audience, because with this time of changing and shifting alliances, sometimes people who you thought were blue have turned red, and vice versa. They were voting one way and they've skipped across the aisle and they've changed allegiances. So it's very important to be respectful, and it's important to know your audience before you voice your opinion. Sometimes silence is the best ally you can have.
Well, yeah, and Sharon, what if somebody tries to bring up politics and you just don't think it's worth it to go there? Is there a polite way, an etiquette way to turn that conversation off?
Yes, Kirk, there is. One of the things you can do, and we find this a lot with people, it happens in the workplace where your boss or your supervisor comes up and they ask you, what are your thoughts? Are you going to watch the inauguration? Yeah. Where are you on everything that's happened in the past week? And you really don't want to share your thoughts because this person controls your paycheck and you're not sure.
Right.
They lie. So what you can do is say, I've been watching what's happening, and at this point in time, I'm still observing things are developing so quickly from day to day. And at this point in time, I'm really not comfortable sharing my thoughts, but I appreciate your interest. Thank you for asking. Why don't you tell me what your thoughts are? What do you think of everything happening? And kind of pivot and turn the question back to them.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, what if you're past the point of polite and things got tense and you're offended, or maybe you've accidentally offended somebody else? How do you kind of regroup from there?
Well, sometimes you have to reconcile conflicting beliefs. And when that happens, the best thing you can do is say, I really appreciate your point of view, or thank you for sharing your thoughts. And then go to something that person is very passionate about, maybe sports, or a recent team, or a recent game, and ask them if they watched the game, especially if their team won. Then you can talk about that, or ask them about their pet, or maybe a recent hike in the mountains, something that they feel passionate about, and see if you can pivot the conversation to something that they will enjoy talking about and get off a topic of politics altogether.
Yeah. I feel like you can always pull an audible and say, so, how about the weather? But I mean, sometimes, and don't you think sometimes in and of itself, changing the conversation just kind of makes it clear, I don't really want to talk about this. And that's okay, right?
Yes, it does. It sends a clear message, and especially if you have to do it twice.
Right.
The other do is just close the conversation and say, well, I've enjoyed chatting with you. You've certainly given me something to think about. Have a good afternoon.
There you go. That's a classy way to handle it. Oh, boy. I hate that we even have to talk about this, but it is important.
It is important.
We're not talking about this.
You know what I mean. How to talk about not talking about it.
Well, thank you so much. Definitely something we're all navigating right now, to be honest with you. And I think social media kind of adds fuel to that fire sometimes, because everyone wants to talk politics on social media. Anyways, it's this swirling thing we're dealing with. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Great advice.
We appreciate your insight, your advice, and definitely helpful.
My pleasure.
9:18 right now. Rescue